Hi everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Gideon Balfour, and I believe you all know me. So I'm a lecturer here in the Department of Environment and Geography. And today we are going to titled Urban Agriculture as a Strategy for Building Climate Resilience, evidence from Accra, Ghana. So this project is part of the EAC International Fellowship. And before we start, I would like to give a brief profile, background about the speaker, who is going to make the presentation. So Professor Philip Nchiaje is a professor of climate change adaptation and sustainability science, and the director of the Office of Grants and Research at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Kumasi, Ghana. And he's a former Commonwealth scholar. He obtained his PhD from the University of Leeds in 2013. He is also an interdisciplinary climate change scientist whose research involves developing innovative multi-scale methodologies for assessing vulnerability and adaptations to climate change across the local, regional, and national scales. And specifically, his research uses spatial databases, ecological studies, and field-based participatory approaches aimed at broadening understanding of how climate change and variability affect food security and livelihoods, particularly in Africa. And he was the lead author for the IPCC special report on global warming of 1.5 degrees Celsius, and also a contributing author on the sixth assessment report of the IPCC. And he has consulted for a number of international organizations, including the United Nations Development Program, the International Institute for Sustainable Development, Canada, and then Ghana's Environmental Protection Agency, just to mention but a few. And Philip developed the National Adaptation Plan for Ghana, and then the National Adaptation Strategy and Action Plan for the infrastructure sector, comprising of water, energy, and transport sectors. And he was also a consultant for the adaptation component of Ghana's updated nationally determined contributions under the Paris Climate Agreement. And he has published extensively in reputable international peer-reviewed journals on climate change issues and presented his research outputs in several international conferences and workshops. So our presenter today is Professor Nchiaje. So Philip, we give you the platform now.
Thank you very much, Gideon, for that introduction. And thank you very much for coming, for those of you who are here and those joining through the virtual space. So once again, my name is Philip Nchiaje from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology in Ghana. This will be the presentation outline. I'll look at a brief introduction looking at how growing food insecurity in developing countries linked to global climate change, and how can we address this using urban vegetable growing or urban farming? What are the gaps? And then the research design and the study methods that we employed. And I'll present some key findings based on the objectives of the study. Let me start by saying that this work, I'm doing the presentation, but the actual work was done by Gideon and myself as part of our ESC International Fellowship Scheme. So I'll try and do the presentation, and then when it comes to the question, direct all the questions to Gideon to answer the questions for us. I want to start my presentation by saying that even though Africa as a continent contributes very less in terms of the global emissions, contributing less than 5%, the IPCC, yet it suffers disproportionately from the effects of climate change. And a recent report by the World Meteorological Organization suggests that temperatures are rising, but are reaching rapidly in Africa. Extreme weather events are also worsening food insecurity situation across the continent. People are being displaced, and there are also conflicts. And all these are affecting agricultural productivity across all parts of the continent. I mean, nowhere is this more serious than what is happening in Ghana, where average mean surface temperature suggests that between 1951 and 2020, there has been significant increase in average temperature. And if you look at this figure that was taken from the West, from climate change indeed is affecting all global cities globally. And I have here some 4 slides that I want to show Whether you are in the US and Tanzania, where heavy rainfall rains are triggering flood water issues. If you go to Bangladesh, it's not different, where you have flooding related to climate change induced erratic rainfall patterns. You move to India, and women are also in search of water because of climate change issues. You come to China, poor water quality in Beijing and other cities across the country. So, I mean, I could go on highlighting a number of challenges in cities across the world as a result of climate change. Accra is not different from what is happening across the globe. Accra and many other cities in Ghana also face significant climate change effects or climate change challenges. I think this graph recently, over the years, there have been a lot of flooding issues in Ghana, destroying infrastructure, destroying lives and property. And this is a picture, a figure of NADMO, as a National Disaster Management Organization, trying to rescue people who have been stranded because of floods across the city. But let me say that the issues that I'm going to be presenting in Accra are not specific to Accra as a city, but they are also similar to what is happening across cities in Ghana, in Kumasi, Sunyani, Cape Coast, and many other cities in West Africa that share similar socioeconomic and environmental characteristics. So most of the issues can be transferred to these kinds of cities. There has been also a rapid urbanization in Accra. There is rapid urbanization in Accra. Accra is the most densely populated area in Ghana. It's a home to an estimated 2.8 million people, according to the Ghana Statistical Services. It has seen the fastest population and urban growth over the years, and these have been attributed to two key things. One, population and urban growth, and two, rural-urban migration, people moving from the rural areas into the urban centers in search of greener pastures or in search of better conditions of life, employment, and the rest. And this is making Accra more vulnerable, and not only Accra, but other cities that share similar characteristics, such as Kumasi, Cape Coast, Sunyani, and other parts of West Africa. Urban agriculture in the literature suggests that in spite of these challenges, urban agriculture holds some kind of prospect or some kind of potential in addressing many of the challenges that we face within cities across the world, and for that matter, those in Ghana and West Africa for that purpose. And we have defined urban agriculture following what was defined by Paulson in 2002, that urban agriculture is the production of crops and rearing of livestock in urban and peri-urban areas within a particular country. But for the purpose of this presentation of this work, we are focusing on crop production, and we are not focusing too much in terms of livestock and other animals. So our purpose will be looking at how crop production has been affected or has been used to build resilience. And there's a massive literature on this that support the fact that urban agriculture indeed holds some kind of prospect, some kind of potential to address climate change effects. But we wanted to find what are the existing research gaps. What we found out was that there's limited scholarship, there's limited research attention in terms of how urban agriculture could be used as a resilience strategy in Accra and other cities across Ghana. As such, there's very little in terms of evidence to support policy formulation and policy design and interventions to address climate change effects in most of these cities. We are not also clear, we don't know the extent, practices, and attitudes towards urban agriculture in Ghanaian cities, and therefore there's the need for us to understand how these kind of factors play out. So the aim of this ESC project was to understand how urban agriculture can enhance the resilience of urban communities to address climate change shocks and stresses in Accra and Ghana for that matter. These were our research questions. how do urban agriculture practices contribute to building climate change resilience in Accra, Ghana? Two, what is the extent to which urban agriculture has been incorporated into agriculture and climate change related policy documents in Ghana? Three, what are the key challenges for policy integration of urban agriculture into agriculture and climate change related policies in Ghana? And then what are the challenges that confront urban farmers in the attempt to implement urban agriculture to address climate change effects? This is a steady map of Accra, the steady area. Accra is the capital of Ghana, and as I said earlier, it's the most populated. It has a dry coastal equatorial climate change, climatic characteristics with 2 rainy seasons. Ghana, depending on where you are, those in southern Ghana tend to experience 2 rainy seasons, one in the major season and the one in the minor season. But those in the northern part of the country tend to, from northern Ghana going upper east, upper west, tend to have one season from somewhere late May, early June to late October and early November, depending on how the rainfall pattern is. Rainfall is mostly intensive in Accra with short storms, which normally cause flooding that destroy infrastructure, property lives, as I've mentioned in one of the earlier slides. Annual temperature ranges is about 26.8 degrees Celsius, like experienced across southern Ghana. So in terms of research methods, Gideon was in Ghana for over 2 weeks and some few days. In early July, I joined him. I am based in Kumasi. I joined him for us to conduct a number of key research methods. But the first thing that we did was key informant interviews. We visited 9 government institutions which are the forefront of policy decisions when it comes to agricultural policy decision making and climate change, addressing climate change issues in the country. I'll go through some of these institutions very soon. And then we had a number of field observations, visiting 5 growing areas in Accra. Then we went on to do policy analysis. 15 national policies were reviewed, and I will go through this very soon. In terms of the key stakeholders, we visited the Environmental Protection Agency, which is a regulatory body. So we have 3 categories of people that we visited: the regulatory bodies, academic, and then the technical and the farmers. We also visited the Crop Service Directorate of Ghana's Ministry of Food and Agriculture, and then went on to look at the perspective of the Ghana Meteorological Agency when it comes to dissemination of timely climate information. We were also at the university, and I wanted to know the perspective of academics, researchers, when it comes to climate change effects and the potential for urban agriculture to address that. We visited the University of Ghana, which is located in Accra. And then we visited the technical institution, that is a technical certification scheme called Green Label. They certify vegetables to be grown organically or to be grown using better agroecological methods, such that the effects of eating those vegetables do not leave any harmful effects. And then we visited 11 farmers or farmer associations across the city. This was an interview session that we had, that is Gideon and them and Seth, that we had with stakeholders from GMET, that is Ghana Meteorological Agency, in that, and then this was the International Water Management Institute, IMI, all located in Accra. IMI does a lot of work on urban vegetables and wastewater usage. We then went on to look at most of the relevant policies on climate change and agriculture in Ghana, looking at food and agriculture sector development policy. That is the main policy guiding Ghana's agricultural production. We looked at the Ghana National Climate Change Policy, which was formulated in 2013, that guides how climate change issues are discussed. We also, as a country, has what we call National Climate Change Master Plan that was formulated in 2015. We look at that one. Then we went on to look at the Ghana's submission to the under the Paris Climate Agreement, and then the revised version that was done in 2021. Then the Ghana's National Climate Change Adaptation Strategy was also looked at. The essence of doing this, we wanted to see how urban agriculture as an issue or as a concept has been captured in these important policy documents, to see how, as a country, we are giving relevance to urban agriculture as a resilient strategy to address climate change effects. We then top this up with personal observation, going into various farms to understand the issues that were being discussed with policymakers and other stakeholders, and this gave us a first-hand information as to how some of these issues play out on the field. In terms of data analysis, we compiled the data, transcribed our data, and then did coding. And after coding, we used thematic analysis to understand the key themes, the emerging themes that were coming out from the stakeholder interviews, from the policy interviews and those kind of things. And then our observation to be able to understand what were the key emerging issues and categorize these. We quantify this using codes for visualization to do what we call Sankey diagram that I'll be showing very soon. And for the policy analysis, we employed content analysis. What we did was to look at, we have a number of keywords that were searched using we did literature review to look at these keywords to understand what are other words that could describe urban agriculture, like vegetable growing, like urban greening, those kind of things. And then we searched, I think we had a number of words that we searched through all documents to understand what was being discussed in these policy documents. In terms of funding, let me say that these are some of the initial fundings that we've been able to come out with. So we will present this initial funding, but I'm sure as we go through all the analysis that we have with us, we'll be able to understand better what are the issues. So these are the initial fundings, and I need to stress, these are the initial fundings that we've been able to find from this work. So result one, wanting to find out the role of urban agriculture in building resilience of Ghanaian farmers or Ghanaians population in cities to address climate change effects. We realized that the major issue, and these were the perspective of stakeholders, perspective of farmers, the major issue was mitigating food shortages. As we are aware, climate change, one of the key things that will how it will affect urban communities and populations or people in developing countries like Ghana is through food shortages, because we rely predominantly on rainfed agricultural systems. Therefore, anything that has the potential to address food shortages is in a way trying to address some of the issues that we are having with climate change. So the first thing is mitigation of food shortages. For the diagram, the edges are based on the frequency of occurrences that the stakeholders mention these kind of strategies as a means of building resilience. Then water management was also mentioned, but one of the key things that I want to mention is adaptation to climate change effect. And of course, protection of ecologically sensitive areas. I mean, initial work that have been done by some of our colleagues from University of Leeds, Drew, Professor Dugu, and students have found out that if we leave green spaces, green vegetable spaces within the urban community, urban area, it improves the ecology, it regulates temperature and many other things. And of course, economic resilience. If farmers are able to sell their vegetables, and I need to stress that there's a lot of interest market for urban vegetables in Ghana now, Accra, Kumasi, and many other such cities. And it's not only in Ghana, I'm sure across many of the West African cities. So this afternoon, we're discussing some of these things with our colleagues, a colleague from Benin, and these issues are being captured in Benin and other cities across West Africa. So economic resilience is one of the key things, key pathways through which urban agriculture can be used to build the resilience of urban growers towards climate change effects. I've already mentioned protection of ecologically sensitive areas and then adaptation to climate variability. I mean, this is results for our second question. To what extent have we integrated urban agriculture into relevant policies in the country? Policies guide and shape and influence how we farm, how we do some of these things. So as I said earlier, we wanted to find out, have we incorporated urban agriculture into policy documents? And we had a number of terms that we use: urban agriculture, community gardens, community-based gardening, eco agriculture, greenhouse growth, indoor growing, urban farm, urban small farm, a number of them. So we did word count using the set key to understand how many times these words are found in policy documents. And so we did across all the 15 policies that I described, or documents that I described earlier. What we did was not just to find whether a keyword was present or not, but I wanted to find also, went further to look at the context within which these keywords have been stated in policy documents. This is a heat map showing how urban agriculture is incorporated into existing policy across the country. And the heat map, I mean, this is an interesting map, and this is what we want to do to share with policymakers. The green areas, which is showing most parts of the business, shows that these policies do not at all mention urban agriculture in any form, any shape, no matter how you set for it. All the green areas do not do that. And those that are gray mention a bit of urban agriculture in some kind of form. If you look at a policy like Ghana, FASDEP mentioned urban agriculture in a way, by 6 or so. Then some of them were those in light red, indicates that there was a massive mention of urban agriculture in using the various key search words that we use. But then we went on to look at the context within which these words have been incorporated, have been stated. And we realized that even though these words were there, they were not specifically highlighted or indicating urban agriculture as an adaptation or as a resilient strategy to address climate change effects. And I must stress that these documents were selected based on one, literature search, two, our interactions with policymakers, and based on our own experiences that we've had with policy making in the country. Result 3, policy integration. So the idea is that one, we talked to them and they said that, okay, urban agriculture could be used to mitigate food shortages. Urban agriculture could be used to address, improve ecologically sensitive areas or protect them. Urban agriculture could be used to build adaptation. Then we went on to look at how they are incorporated into urban policy making. Then we found out that there was nothing was there to show that urban agriculture is being prioritized as a country. So we then wanted to find out what is causing this. Why are we not doing that? If you believe that indeed urban agriculture could drive resilience, could promote resilience, could enhance people's capacity to address climate change, why haven't you incorporated it into various agricultural and climate change facing policies or documents in the country? So that was what our research question 3 sought to understand. These are the policy integration challenges. And we realized that there was lack of coordinations amongst the various institutions, but the key thing was weak implementation and regulatory frameworks. I mean, there's lack of regulatory frameworks in terms of how urban agriculture as a concept, urban agriculture as a strategy could be used to address climate change effects. And this is quite important. If you don't have the framework, if you don't have the implementation strategy, then no matter what you do, you're not going to be able to see any results. Then prioritization of our immediate financial gains. Sometimes policymakers want to find out what are we getting in return from whatever we are investing into this? And if they are not seeing immediate financial gains, they tend to be a little bit reluctant in implementing certain, sometimes political interferences, and then under-resourced and then fragmented institutions. We realize that different ministries and different agencies are sometimes doing different things, but on the same thing. So there are overlaps, and people are looking at this same issue from different angles, and sometimes it doesn't help the case. Indeed, there have been similar work previously that I did with Professor Andy Dougal and Lindsay Stranger, where we look at policy context for climate change adaptation in Ghana. And 3 key things came out: that there are significant challenges with institutional capacity, a lack of coordination among national agencies charged to promote climate change resilience, and then insufficient resources towards moving towards integrated implementation of climate change adaptation. And I think this paper was published in climate policy or something of that sort. So it's our results that we are getting now compare favorably with previous results that or work that we've done in the past, suggesting that there are significant policy challenges, significant challenges in terms of institutions, in terms of coordination, in terms of resources to address climate change first. Result 4, wanted to find out now, having known all this, what are the challenges that confront urban farmers, that confront policymakers in using climate change, urban farming as a climate change resilience strategy. The first challenge that we noticed was lack of space for urban farmers. Urban farming, if you look at this picture, we took this picture. This is a very big, I don't know whether it's a hotel. It seems to be a hotel. I don't think an individual will be living here. This is a hotel very close to this land. This land belongs to Gridco. Gridco is Ghana Grid Company. And these are all very high tension electric carrying high tension poles. And these are buffer zones. Nobody's supposed to do any kind of activity here. But because of lack of space, this is where people are doing urban agriculture. This is where people are growing their vegetable. And this is a serious issue. And indeed, a lot of studies have concluded that Accra, because of pressure on land, because of urbanization, there's no land now, and urban farmers are now resorting to marginal lands and risky areas like high tension to be able to grow vegetable. And it's not only Accra. As I've mentioned earlier, Kumasi, Sunyani, Cape Coast, and many Tamale and many other cities across Ghana and West Africa. I mean, this was a typical post quote by somebody. In the past, Accra alone used to have so much areas that were used to cultivate its horticultural crops. However, in recent times, because everybody wants to build in Accra, the sizes of these urban farms are reducing and almost disappearing now. This was a stakeholder. Normally, what happens is that somebody buys a land, is not in the haste to build or develop it. And once the land is there, these kind of farmers seize opportunity to use it to grow their vegetables. And anytime the person is ready to build on that land is reclaimed back, leaving these poor farmers more vulnerable to the adverse effects of climate change and non-climate change, non-climatic effects. Lack of access to quality water is also a big issue. We realize that most farmers are now using unhygienic water to do irrigation, and these have serious food safety issues. In as much as people want to eat vegetables, in as much as we see the health benefits of vegetables, if we are using poor quality water to irrigate the vegetables, then you are having more health issues than even benefiting from it. And a lot of work has been done by AMI. When we visited AMI, once again is the International Water Management Institute based in Accra. They highlighted a number of work that they've done in the past, showing some of these issues, health safety issues associated with vegetable growing in Accra and many parts of Ghana. Then destruction of farms by livestock. Unfortunately, sometimes livestock are produced or reared in urban areas, Accra, Kumasi, for instance. And when this happens, people do their farm and sometimes get these farms destroyed by livestock that are moving. And this was a typical quote. A lot of people are rearing cattle within the city. And these animals are sometimes allowed to be working free range. And this can destroy your vegetable crops. So if I'm going to do, let me add, a vegetable farm and I'm going to have these disturbances, I wouldn't even bother myself trying to cultivate these kinds of crops. This was an interview with a policy, a stakeholder in Accra in July 2024. I mean, this shows the frustrations, this is an evidence of the frustrations of urban growers in terms of how their crops are destroyed by livestock. I mean, there are a number of costs that because of time, I don't want to go into that. But by having describe these challenges, I also need to mention that farmers do not sit down and fold their arms in the face of these challenges. They do a number of things. They engage in a number of innovative measures to address some of these key challenges. And one of them that they do, for lack of space, this is what they do. They it's interesting. People are using pavement to grow vegetables. We spoke with the gentleman who owns this kind of vegetable farm here, and he has so much market that he's not able to even meet the needs of his of the market. So farmers are being innovative, being ingenious in using indigenous methods and some of these innovative approaches to circumvent or to address lack of space as a challenge when it comes to urban agriculture in Accra and many parts or many cities across Ghana. Again, we were at the University of Ghana, where we went into one of their centers, Center for Climate Change and Sustainability studies, and realized that people are being taught how to, or being encouraged, being encouraged to grow vegetables in using old or used ties. So they fill the ties with black soil and put the vegetables in. And these are vegetables that are grown using organic matter, and for that matter, is quite healthy to eat. So these are some of the things that farmers are doing in terms of water challenges, quality of water challenges. One of the things about farmers in some of these areas, including West Africa, is that they are very ingenious when it comes to trying to devise ways and means to address some of these challenges. They've been confronted with these challenges over and over, and they've been able to surmount one way or the other. But the truth of the matter is, with climate change and other non-climatic change effects, their capacity to address some of these things are sometimes exceeded, and therefore they need some kind of external help. This is a situation where farmers are using digging some kind of well within the land and use it to water the vegetables. It may not be, in terms of quality-wise, this may not be a very good source, but at least it helps them to overcome the challenges that confront them when it comes to lack of access to water for their vegetable growing. So these are some of the things that farmers are doing, and I think they need to be supported to be able to overcome these kinds of challenges. Some are also using generators to pump water from a distance. But the truth of the matter is, if vegetable growing is a means of providing economic resilience to these farmers, and now they're having to use part of this money to buy generators, buy fuel before they can pump water, how much of it will be left for them as profits? And these are issues that confront them, even though it may be an innovative means of addressing this. But some of these kinds of activities may lead farmers becoming more vulnerable, and therefore you introduce the concept of maladaptation into some of these kinds of things, where you do something and it makes you more vulnerable than you used to be. So in conclusion, these are initial conclusions that we are drawing from this work. And these are some of the take-home messages that we want to pass on today. If you don't get anything at all today, if you take this four messages for me, that would be very nice of you. One, urban agriculture or vegetable growing holds prospects for building resilience to climate change effects in Accra and many other Ghanaian cities and many cities across West Africa. As I said, cities that share similar environmental and economic characteristics, socioeconomic characteristics. Some of these kinds of results, some of these kind of funding, some of these kind of issues may be transferable to these places. Okay. Our analysis also reveals that policy documents do not give much attention to the role of urban agriculture as a climate change resilience strategy in Ghana. And I've shown here that a number of very important, very strategic documents that are supposed to shape and influence the way agriculture is done, that are supposed to shape the way we address climate change effects, do not even mention urban agriculture in any shape, in any form, no matter how you look at it. And this is a worry that we need to look at. The third take-home message is that significant challenges confront urban integration of urban agriculture into national climate change and agriculture-related policy. And these include constraints such as weak implementation, resource constraints, lack of coordination, and others that hamper or impede the integration or incorporation of some of these kinds of urban agriculture into some of these policies that could shape and influence the way we address urban agriculture and climate change effects in the country. And finally, urban farmers are confronted with a number of challenges, including access to land or lack of space and water, quality water for urban agriculture in Accra, and for that matter, many other cities across Ghana. But the big question, this thing you catch here is that farmers, as I said earlier, are not folding their arms. They are putting in a number of mechanisms, using a number of innovative measures to address some of these challenges, including farming in some of these areas, which they may not have legal permission to do. So what are the next steps? The next step for our YESI project, myself, Gideon, and other contacts that we've made over the last 2 weeks that I've been here, is to finish analyzing the qualitative data from the stakeholder interviews that we had in Accra, look at how the various stakeholders are viewing the challenges of urban agriculture as a climate change resilience strategy. So we want to compare the perspective of policymakers, the perspective of technical staff, technical people, and the perspective of the farmers themselves, and see if there's some kind of alignment amongst them, or there are contrasting views amongst these kinds of perspectives from different stakeholders. And then, of course, we are writing 2 manuscripts from this work. And more importantly, we are developing a proposal on urban agriculture, and we throw the invitation to people who want to assist, want to join, come and join, so that we can have a very good proposal to attract funds and look at some of these issues into details. For those of us who are here and those who are joining online, the YESI International Fellows 2024-2025 has been launched some few days ago, and that's the link. That's the link that you can use to do that. So you can take the link, go there, and apply. All the conditions will be there. You apply. I've been here for 2 weeks on the ticket of ESA for everything. So do apply, and I'm sure it will be a good opportunity to build your network. In terms of acknowledgement, I want to acknowledge YESI again for this fellowship, and then my university, the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. On that note, I say thank you.